Honoring Mario Vargas Llosa, the legacy of a literary titan. Lima, the literary world mourns the loss of Mario Vargas Llosa, a celebrated Peruvian novelist whose works intricately wove together the threads of gritty realism, playful erotica, and the relentless pursuit of individual freedom in Latin America. He passed away on April 13 in Lima at the age of 89, a fact shared with the world through a heartfelt social media announcement from his children, Alvaro, Gonzalo, and Morgana. Vargas Llosa, who was awarded the Nobel Prize in Literature in 2010, first captured the public's attention as a young writer with his raw and vivid portrayals of the corruption and moral decay that plagued Peru. He was part of a remarkable group of writers, including Gabriel Garcia Marquez and Julio Cortázar, who rose to prominence during the 1960s, marking the era known as Latin America's literary boom generation. His disdain for the conventions of polite society in Peru fueled his creativity. At just 14, he enrolled in the Leoncio Prado Military Academy in Lima, an experience that inspired his debut novel, The Time of the Hero, 1963, which offered a scathing critique of military life. The book sparked outrage among military officials, with some generals even claiming it was funded by Ecuador to undermine Peru's armed forces, ironically propelling it to immediate success. Despite his contemporaries' embrace of magical realism, Vargas Llosa remained skeptical. His disillusionment with Fidel Castro's oppressive regime in Cuba led him to break away from the leftist ideologies that dominated many Latin American writers for decades. Instead, he carved out a unique identity as a conservative thinker, often stirring controversy with his views, while also drawing from his own life experiences to create narratives that resonated far beyond Peru's borders. His political ambitions culminated in a presidential run in 1990, where he passionately advocated for free market policies, including the privatization of state-owned enterprises and measures to curb inflation through government spending cuts. Although he led in the polls for much of the campaign, he ultimately lost to Alberto Fujimori, a then-unknown agronomist who later adopted several of Vargas Llosa's policies. Vargas Llosa's journey began in journalism, where he worked as a night reporter for the Lima daily, La Crónica, capturing the gritty underbelly of society filled with crime and vice. This experience informed his acclaimed 1969 novel, Conversation in the Cathedral, which is often hailed as his masterwork, reflecting Peru's struggles under General Manuel Odria's military dictatorship in the 1950s. In the 1990s, he experienced a renaissance in journalism as a columnist for El País in Spain, where he had gained citizenship. His biweekly column, Piedra de Toque, Touchstone, was widely syndicated across Spanish-language newspapers in Latin America and the US, allowing him to discuss a range of topics from the rise of populism in the Andes to his admiration for French artists like Claude Monet and Paul Gauguin, as well as his unwavering support for Israel. Vargas Llosa's columns were often stripped of excessive adjectives, elegantly crafted to engage readers who might find his longer novels daunting. Literary critic Ilan Stovens once remarked on his unique stature in Hispanic literature, noting that he was a polymath whose insights resonated deeply across cultures. His commitment to personal liberties and free trade often drew criticism in Latin America, particularly from leftist governments in Venezuela and Cuba. Yet, he remained steadfast in his beliefs, famously sending flowers to Margaret Thatcher upon her departure from office in 1990, expressing his gratitude for her contributions to the cause of liberty. Born on March 28, 1936, in Arequipa, Peru, Vargas Llosa spent part of his childhood in Cochabamba, Bolivia, with his mother and grandparents. His family, though middle class, had noble roots, and he grew up believing his father was deceased. His parents had separated before his birth, and his father, Ernesto Vargas, worked abroad, seeking a divorce from his mother. They reunited when Vargas Llosa was 10, but the strict discipline of his father led him to the military academy. At 19, he eloped with Julia Urquidi Ilons, his uncle's sister-in-law, a tumultuous relationship that inspired his novel *And Julia and the Scriptwriter*, 1977, which humorously chronicles the life of a young law student who falls for his aunt amidst the backdrop of radio soap operas. Ilams later penned a memoir detailing their challenging years together, and after their divorce in 1964, Vargas Llosa married Patricia Llosa, with whom he had 3 children. Their marriage lasted 50 years before they